Sony's A7R III Mirrorless is a multifaceted beast of a camera. You can go out and shoot landscapes one day, sports the next, and then a music video. That's because the $3,200 camera has it all: high resolution, 42.4 megapixel, mega fast shooting speeds, and excellent quality 4K video. It's fun to compare the first generation A7S with the A7R III. The latest camera is much more refined but hasn't increased by size by too much. A7s have always been the lightest and most compact full-frame cameras around, but Sony made the A7R III a bit bigger to squeeze in some much needed features. It now has a bigger battery like the one on the A9 with double the range. There are two SD card slots, including one for high-speed UHS 2 cards and a USB Type-C port. You get a joystick and touch-enabled screen for focus, and finally, there's a bigger, brighter electronic viewfinder. Going around the camera, there are manual controls and ports for everything. You get a front and rear dial for shutter speed and aperture, an exposure compensation dial, 4 programmable buttons, and 3 pre-programmed shooting modes. Above the D-pad dial, there's the new joystick, and to the left is the articulating touchscreen, which can be tilted up or down but not forward or sideways. Video shooters get microphone, headphone, and HDMI ports. As mentioned, there are now 2 SD card slots, but only one is UHS 2 for some reason. It's crazy to shoot 10 42.4 megapixel raw images per second in long bursts. I wouldn't say that the A7R III is a sports camera, but you could certainly use it for action in a pinch. The big sensor makes it great for landscapes and wildlife, and you won't disturb athletes or bears when using the silent electronic shutter mode. Autofocus is faster and more accurate than ever thanks to a big increase in the number of contrast detection points from 25 to 425. Still, image quality in RAW mode has improved thanks to increased dynamic range and 14 bits of color latitude. It's especially useful when shooting at high ISOs. For video, the A7R III is the best full-frame mirrorless camera you can buy. It lacks the 10-bit billion color latitude of the GH5, yes, but it does a full crop sensor readout, and when using the entire sensor with minimal line skipping, it produces a look that the GH5 can't match. The A7R III has manual audio controls plus headphone, HDMI, and microphone inputs, so it's more professionally oriented for video than most consumer cameras. The built-in 5-axis stabilization and extra heft helps a lot in keeping handheld shots steady. Sony's camera isn't free of flaws though. The menu system is better than before, but is still too huge, and some settings have been lumped into categories where they don't logically fit. The Play Memories app to link your smartphone to the A7R III is still very clunky, but it does do the job. Those are minor issues though. Sony's A7R III has just one equal, Nikon's $3,300 D850 DSLR, and if you have the budget, it's a tough decision. The D850 is a bit faster for photos and weaker on video, so videographers that sometimes shoot photos will probably want the A7R III and vice versa. Personally, I do both things around equally, and budget willing, would choose the Sony A7R III.